Well, joining me from that Bali summit is Sky News Political Editor Andrew Clennell. Andrew Clennell, thank you for joining me. The leaders there where you are sure jumped when they heard about this missile.
Yes, they did, and it appears from initial reports out of US officials this afternoon, Andrew, that it is a Ukrainian missile seeking to down a Russian missile that's killed these two people in Poland. No confirmation of that, but I think you could see it today in the language of Joe Biden and Anthony Albanese, the Australian Prime Minister, when they talked about the fact that it was unclear whether or not it was a Russian missile. Joe Biden said it was on a pretty flat trajectory, it hadn't come from Russia, and then they went on to say the problem is that as this G20 summit, most of the leaders seek to condemn the Russian war on Ukraine, you've had an escalation of missile attacks. So I guess they can put some of the blame at Russia in the sense that the Ukrainian missile, if it is Ukrainian, was firing at a Russian missile. It was the result of Russian missile attacks, but it's far less serious an escalation than we feared this morning and those world leaders feared, because to involve a NATO country in conflict would be very serious indeed.
Andrew, we were talking earlier in the show about the Chinese president's meeting last night with Anthony Albanese. Now, we had business representatives like Jennifer Westacott, who's there as well. They were very excited. But are there any signs yet that these talks could lead to China dropping, say, some of its trade bans or releasing the two Australians it's jailed for supposedly hurting national security, China's national security? Has there been any follow-up today?
No, absolutely not. And I think the Australian PM thinks it will take some time. But he also seems confident of a positive outcome out of these talks. His argument is you've got to engage. He's got the first bilateral meeting for 6 years with the Chinese leader Xi Jinping. He said last night that you can't just have that meeting and expect the Chinese president to say, yes, no worries, I'll agree to all your requests. That dialogue will continue now, that Australia is out of the deep freeze, and he raised all of these issues. So I would expect that Anthony Albanese would expect some of them to be resolved over the next year or so, but it's still very much up in the air, Andrew.
Thank you so much for your time, Andrew Clennell.
Thanks, Andrew.